So in order to lay out a poster in Photoshop and bring pictures in there, first thing we're going to do is go to File, New. Okay. Now, the clipboard came up. Sometimes this will come up that says default Photoshop size. We don't want either one of those. We want to go down to where it says US paper. And click on that. Then there's another drop-down menu on the size, and you have three sizes to choose from: letter, legal, and tabloid. We want tabloid size, and click on that. So it will default to this size, 11 by 17, 300 resolution, and the color mode is RGB color. That should all be there. You're not changing any of that. Don't touch any of that. The reason we're doing this tabloid is that's what the settings we want. At the very top, you see it says name. So now I want you to put SDA poster in there, because that's the title of what you're working on, right? So put SDA poster in there. And then you're just going to say OK. And now you'll see that you have the whole poster layout sitting right here. Okay? And this is where we're going to put our pictures on. So that's our background. Remember, Photoshop docks or nests these photos all at the top. So if you want to undo them, you just click on that bar at the top and it will undo those. So we want to put some pictures in. Pick and, do 2 or 3 at a time. It makes it a lot easier rather than doing all 10 at once. So go to File, Open, and then I'm going to click on, let's say, 3 of these. Okay? So we're going to start with those 3. So we don't have a whole bunch we have to deal with. Now you notice that it did the same thing. It docked them all at the top. So in order to undock them, you just click and move them out so that we can see those pictures separately from each other. Okay? Now, each of these pictures is kind of large and kind of in the way. In order to make the look of a picture smaller or bigger in Photoshop, we do this: Control minus or Control plus. Okay, the way Photoshop is designed, it's designed to have your left hand on the keyboard and your right hand on the mouse, so that you do keystrokes with your left hand and you move the mouse with your right if you're right-handed, opposite if you're left-handed. So that means we go Control minus. I want to make that picture a little smaller so it's not in my way. And then I'm going to come and drag this corner here so that I don't have that's the window. So I shape the window to the same size as the picture itself. So Control minus, make it smaller. So now it's a little bit easier to deal with all of these when I've done that. Okay? So I've made this whole thing smaller, and that's smaller, and those are all smaller. So a little bit easier to deal with than when you're trying to see them all really huge. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't change your picture size at all. This is only changing what it looks like. It doesn't change the picture at all, only what it looks like. So now I have these 3 photos that I want to put into the poster. The way I do that is I come to the top icon on the toolbar. That top icon is the Move tool. If I hover over it, it will say Move tool. It's the very top icon on the toolbar. Click on that. Then I come over to my picture and I just click and drag it in. Okay? I click and drag it in. So I'm going to click and drag all 3 of these in. Come over, click and drag that one in. Then I'm going to come over and click and drag this last one in. Okay, so there's all 3 pictures there now. Let me click out of those because I'm done with them. I have them in there. You notice that it made only a duplicate. It doesn't take the picture away, it just makes a duplicate. So I'm going to get rid of those originals. So now I have this poster. And in my layers palette, you'll notice that there are 3 layers in here plus the background layer, because I have clicked and dragged in 3 different pictures. Remember how I showed you how Photoshop works in layers, like pieces of paper on top of each other, right? So all of these are on top of each other now. And so each layer, when I click on it, is that layer. And you see here in this little thumbnail, it gives you a thumbnail of what the poster looks like, and it shows you where each of these is located. So you can figure out which one you want to move. But that's a really hard way to deal with it. Like if I want to move this picture, I could have to figure out which one it is in here. But the best way to do it is just to right-click in the middle of the picture. The top layer that comes up is that layer. I click on that, and now I can move that layer around. I click in the middle of this picture, and I can move this picture around. I click in the middle of this one, and I can move this picture around. Okay? That's the easiest way to do it. And you'll see when I clicked in there and moved, that automatically took me to that layer. So I click and move, it takes me to that layer. So each layer is separate, and you can do separate things to them. Now, right now, I need to put 10 pictures on this poster, and I'm not going to be able to fit them because I only have 3 there, and they're already taking up the whole space. So I need to resize each of those pictures. How we resize the pictures is by using the transform tool in Photoshop. You can get there a couple ways. One is you can go to Edit and go to Transform, but I want you to learn the keystrokes, which is Control T for Transform. Now, I had this top layer selected, so you see that now it has this lines around it with little handles all the way around it. Those little handles allow you to resize the image. Now, one of the problems here is if we resize it like this, we can stretch the image or make it long and tall, and we don't ever want to do that, ever, 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 ever. You never want to destroy the integrity of your original image. So I'm going to cancel that. Okay, and let's go to Control T for Transform again. Now I have all my handles back. In order to resize something without squishing it or elongating it, I hold the Shift key down, I grab a corner, and I move it down. Okay, when I do that, for some reason the thing is not quite working here for some reason. Let me try again. Hold the Shift key down, grab a corner, and I can resize it to whatever I want, okay? And then I can apply that. Same with this one. I'm going to right-click in the middle to get to this layer. How do I resize it? Control T, grab a corner, hold the Shift key down, and I can resize this, okay? What you want to do when you're laying out your poster is you want to vary your picture sizes. Now, you'll see that there's still handles all the way around it, so it's not committed yet. Remember, this is cancel whatever you're working on, and this is committed. So we're going to commit that. And then let's say I want to leave this one fairly large. So I'm going to keep it fairly large because I'd like to have some different sizes in here. What you want to do is have a little bit of variety in your sizes of your pictures. Okay? So I have those 3. So now I'm going to open some more. Let's go get the other 3. Let's get 4 this time. So I'm going to open those 4. Again, it does the same thing. Now, since I've shown you how to make them smaller, I'm going to undock them and make them smaller so it's easier to deal with. And then I'm going to click and drag that one in. Use the Move tool, click and drag it into my poster. And then I'm going to get rid of it. I don't need it anymore once I've done that. So I'm going to click out of that, put the layers back over here. I'm going to take this one. I'm not even going to resize it. Just click and drag it in and click back over there on that and get rid of that. So that you're not getting your workspace. This is called the workspace all gummed up with all these images. So now we've got that one in there. Let's get rid of that. And let's take the last one and put it in. Okay? And then I can get rid of this one. I don't need it because I've already pulled it in. Now you notice here that those are all the layers. You'll see that it now has 7 layers on top of the background layer. Each of these layers is its own little entity, and I can adjust each one. And these are all stacked on top of each other. If you want to overlap pictures, the way you overlap them is, let's say you want to overlap this one on top. It's not going to. Anybody know why this doesn't overlap on top? Go ahead, Julie. No, because it's below the layer. On the layers palette, it's like stacks of paper. So if this is below that, I can't put it on top. If I want to put it on top, I have to move that layer, and I just physically move it above the other one, and now I can put it over on top. Okay? So that's what we're doing there. So I'm going to come in each of these and resize them. So the top one I click on, Control T for transform, hold the Shift key down, grab a corner, and I'm going to resize that. And then I got to apply it. Then I'm going to do the same with this one, Control T, hold the Shift key down, grab a corner, and resize that. And then commit that. Now it doesn't matter about your layout right now because you're going to change it all later. Okay, because each layer is its own self right now, and all we care about is having a size that is about what we want. We can always change that later. You're going to be changing this a lot as you work on it. Okay? So now we have several pictures in here. Now we want to figure out how we want to lay it out to make it look nice. The main thing you want to care about when you're laying something out is that you leave room for pictures to breathe around the edges. You don't want to do what we call bleed the pictures, which is go right up against the side. That looks really cramped and awkward unless you're really good at layout. So we want to leave some breathing room around, okay? So we're leaving some room around. And when we go to put things with borders, we want the borders to kind of be even. So when we go to put this, that the right side and the left side borders match, and the top matches. So we have some sense of unity to this. And when we lay out our pictures, we want to make sure we're paying attention to the fact that we're going to have to add our paragraph, our long paragraph on our research, and we're going to have to put our names, our group members' names on here, all of which take up room. So let's say I'm going to move this around here, something like this. Try to get this more matching. And if you want to move the pictures a little bit when you have them selected, use the arrow keys on the keyboard to just move them slightly. If you just click and drag them, it moves them a lot. It doesn't do the tiny movements like you might want this way. So then let's say I'm going to leave this one fairly large, maybe even make it bigger. Okay. Now I only have 7 pictures on here, so I'm just going to show you that with 7 so we don't take up the time to do all this. But let's get this all sort of equaled out here. And then maybe I don't like where that is, so I'm going to move this up and move this down. So I have a little bit more space there. Seems to fit the layout a little better.